Growing up, the general piece of advice that I got about money is to simply save up as much as I could. Supposedly, that would be enough to live a financially secure life and make all my troubles disappear. Now that I'm in my 30s, however, I realized that that strategy didn't really pan out that well. Inflation is sky high, everybody's in debt, housing is really unaffordable, and jobs simply aren't paying enough. What I realized is that money is much more than just something to be stored in the bank. Instead, it should be used as a tool in order to facilitate the changes that we want in our lives. Today's video is on how to use money to level up in life, and I have 5 to share with you that I've personally experimented with and benefited from that I wish I knew much sooner. Hey, what's up you guys? My name's Christian, I'm a certified occupational therapist, and my goal is to level up in life by solving all of life's problems one problem at a time. Now today's topic is about money because I think it's an extremely important topic to discuss about. After all of us are hustling day in and day out in order to make this money, but there's not a lot of discussion on how exactly are we going to use this resource to level up in life. Now before we do start, however, a bitter pill that we all need to swallow is that our financial journey, our financial success is going to be determined on us. We can't really rely on any external factors like the government or hitting the lottery, or some sort of person suddenly magically helping us with our finances. We need to figure out how our day-to-day actions are going to help us level up and essentially do better throughout our financial journey. So what that means is that the big mindset shift you need to have is that money is inherently a tool. It has to be used in order for you to level up. Because if you're only using money to, pay off your rents, barely get by, survive day to day, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to level up, and you're going to be stuck in this rat race, where it repeats the cycle. And a lot of people are stuck in this position right now. And this is because the economy, is simply horrible right now. Things are extremely unaffordable. There's just so much inflation in the system that I believe there's currently a statistic where there's about 60 to 70% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck. So you need to understand that if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then it's going to be very difficult for you to actually level up and escape that situation, which is why it's extremely important that whatever money that you can save, that little bit of money, you're using it extremely smartly in order to position yourself to actually level up and break out of that cycle. And that's what I want to share with you today. Now, the first way you should be spending your money to level up is to simply buy more education. Now, for many people, when they think about education, they think about going back to school, getting a bachelor's degree, master's degree, but I kind of want to stop you there for a little bit. Because this is coming from personal experience. I got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I personally think that getting all these, formal education is actually way too expensive at its current time. Of course, this is just one opinion, but I know that a lot of medical workers, we went to school, went get a medical degree, and the debt to salary ratio there's such a huge imbalance. I know a lot of healthcare workers right now, they may be working as a doctor, a nurse, a physical therapist, whatever it is, right? They're having such a difficult time paying off the debt just because of how expensive it was to actually get that degree. Now, the reason I wanted to bring up education as the first point is because we need to understand that in order to make money in this world, the more knowledge that you have, the more likelihood you're going to spot the opportunities that's going to allow you to actually expand on your income. If you don't have a lot of knowledge, if you don't have a lot of skills, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to actually find those opportunities. Now, the big mindset shift that I have is that I realized that education isn't solely focused on going to a university or a college or whatever it is. Education is everywhere, through books, through online classes, through seminars. I personally have taken a bunch of online classes that has helped me up tremendously. Because understand this, that in the world right now, there are a lot of problems to be solved. So if you're able to acquire the education, the knowledge in order to solve those problems, you now have another means to actually make more money. For example, while I'm making this YouTube video right now, I need people who are able to edit this video. I need people who are able to create the thumbnails for this video. So if you're able to pay for courses or read books on how to develop those skills, you now have a skill that I'm going to need, and many other people are going to need those skills as well, so they're willing to pay you for it. So do understand that acquiring education is such a powerful thing because there are many skills that's needed in this world. For example, for me, I actually took a course by 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀 that helped me get started with creating YouTube videos, help me kind of organize things better, come up with better topics, titles, things like that. And taking that course actually gave me a skill that I can then immediately apply to improving on all my videos. There are many examples of this, but just realize that if you spot any problems, if you spot any things that you want to acquire, there is likely going to be courses and books on it that you can actually pay money to acquire, and you don't necessarily have to go to a university to do so. The second way you want to use money to level up in life is to own assets and eliminate debt. Now, one thing that I realized, in my financial journey is that simply working isn't enough to escape the cycle. Because when you're working, you're trading time for money. And like all human beings, we only have a limited amount of time to actually trade for money, right? So the goal here is that how can you make make money without having to sacrifice your time. And the secret to that and the solution to that is by owning assets, things like real estate, things like stocks. I personally invest in cryptocurrency as well. Just anything that can grow in value over time, that is where you want to park your money in for the long term, of course. Now, on the other hand, there's then debt. Debt is essentially things that's going to pull money away from us over time. So the sooner we can pay that off, the better situations that we can be. The big problem right now is that people are so in debt, inflation is so high, jobs simply aren't paying enough, that everybody is struggling to make ends meet, right? I think the statistic right now is 60 to 70% of Americans are, living paycheck to paycheck. It's really, really rough out there. But you need to understand that if you want to gain a more financial future, you have to have the needle move a little bit in the positive direction, right? I mean, you want to make sure that you're not spending all your income, on simply surviving. If you're making $4,000, you want to make sure you're not just simply spending everything on rents, on food, on, going out and spending it on fancy stuff. You want to make sure that you're dedicating a small portion of the money into moving that needle. So I religiously practice something called paying myself first. So what that means is that when I get my income every single month, I always dedicate a portion of that money before I pay rent, before I do anything with that money. I dedicate that money in order to either paying off debt or making sure I invest in assets. Now, I'm not going to give you any particular advice because, I don't want to appear like I'm a financial expert or anything, but as long as you get into this mindset that your goal every single month is to always move that needle towards the positive direction. If you do this in the long run, you will escape the cycle. Many people get trapped in this situation where all the money that they're making, because they're not able to regulate their finances, and I know things are difficult right now, we're spending all that money to survive, then they're going to be constantly trapped in the cycle. I know people who are making a lot of money who are still stuck in this. Like, for example, if you own a home, right, and you're having to pay, $6,000-$7,000 for the mortgage and all your income is going into that home, then how are you going to escape the cycle? Because now you have to work in order to pay off that home and you're going to be trapped in this. So we need to find a way where we're going to grow our assets for the long term, and that's going to help us out, hopefully, in the future. The third way to use money to level up in life is to use it on health. Now, this is something that's a little more personal to me because I work in the medical field, but I realize that a lot of us obsess about money, on hustling, on working hard. But when people don't really care about money is when their health is starting to deteriorate. I see so many people, they have lived successful lives, they're doing really, really well, but when their health isn't good, that is the only thing that matters. One thing that I struggle with, with my health journey and, financial journey is that I realize that when I'm not really healthy, when I'm not feeling like I have the energy and whatnot, then it really makes it difficult for me to hustle, to learn, to go to work. So taking care of your health is extremely important. And the one thing that I had problem with is I wasn't really feeling motivated to work out at home, right? So something that I did is that I spent a little bit more money on a gym membership. And some people might say like, oh, you can probably just work out at home. You don't have to spend any money on it. But spending money has this very interesting psychological change where you feel like because you spend money, you now have to follow through with that plan, right? That's a huge reason why, paying for personal trainers work, why going to a gym works, because you're in an environment right now where you feel like someone is actually counting on you to show up, right? When I go to the gym, I'm now in an environment where everybody's working out, everyone's hustling and working hard. So I personally feel that I need to play my part and I'm more motivated to actually do so. So if you're somebody like that who's kind of struggling to, get their health together, or struggling to go, keep active or stay in gym, there's a lot of different options. You can pay for classes, you can pay for the gym membership. There's so many groups you can join, and all of this, keep in mind, not all of them are paid. Some of them can even be free, but you want to find a way to actually use a little bit of money in order to facilitate that. Because once you get your health together or a nice routine, it's going to kind of waterfall into everything else. You'll feel a lot more energized to pursue, whatever it is you're trying to chase. You'll be more energized to actually educate yourself. And at the other end, if you're not really healthy, if you're not staying active, it's going to be extremely difficult to actually get the other parts of your life together. Trust me on this, that if you take care of your health, right, it's going to make everything a lot easier. And sometimes spending a little bit money on a monthly basis to actually pursue that, to get that together, can be a huge boost to help you level up in life. I strongly believe this because, I'm in my 30s, and yes, sure, I'm still young, but I'm starting to realize that, I'm not as indestructible as I used to be. And maybe if you're in your 30s, you'll realize this as well. But taking care of your health is extremely important in order to excel in the other areas of life. And by the way, if you enjoyed the content up to this point, make sure you smash the like button. It's the easiest way to let me know that this kind of content is stuff that you want to keep listening to. And I really appreciate you doing that because it helps this channel grow and hopefully reach a lot more people just like you. Now, the fourth way to use money to level up in life is to buy convenience and time. Now, one thing that we need to realize is that there are two very important resources in life. The first that we're discussing right now is money. Money is used to buy security, buy all these kind of things. But time on the other end is just as important. Our goal is actually to use money in order to buy ourselves more time. The big problem that I realize that I have right now is that I simply just don't have enough time. And I try to use money to actually dedicate to buying myself a little bit more time. Like, it doesn't have to be too extreme, but we really need to critically think about stuff. For me, for example, during the weekdays when I get back home from work, right, I need to get started with making all these YouTube videos, do all my extra projects, right? But I don't really want to spend a lot of time cooking because I realize that when I'm cooking, it takes a lot of time to prepare everything, start cooking it, and I need to wash it and then eat it. Like, it's this whole process that takes away a lot of time for me. So what I did was that I spent a little bit more money into getting things that are already pre-prepared, right? Like, for example, I like buying those frozen broccolis in the aisle where I can just pop in the microwave, and I just like getting like a big rotisserie chicken where it's like ready to go and I just have to microwave it for the next day. Little things like this where I'm actually spending money in a smart way, not too extreme, to actually buy back a little bit more time allows me to focus a little bit more. Because right now when I get back from work, I'm not so stressed about having to cook, having to prepare all these things. Instead, I can just get it all ready, get my meal out of the way, and I can start sitting down working on my projects. And other ways to do so, like for example, I kind of splurge a little bit on a dual monitor computer where I have an extra like screen for me to work on, and it just makes working a lot more fun at home, right? It makes things a lot more convenient, things like that. Because I know sometimes we get caught in this mindset where we really want to hold on to every single penny, we don't want to spend everything, but it takes a lot more time and focus away from us, and it has the negative effect, right? Whereas if we just spend a little bit more money to buy a little bit more time and convenience, it can help us really focus on the higher leverage things. And the higher leverage thing is what I want you to focus on. Because when you're spending money, if you're spending money that's going to help you build more leverage to get you more time and focus and help you do more things, right? Then it's completely worth it to spend that money. But if you're spending that money simply for the sake of spending it, it's not really helping you move towards those goals, then it's not going to be very useful in the long term. So that is one of the ways that I've been personally using money to level up, is to simply buy more time and convenience so I can use that time in order to pursue all the goals that I've set for myself. And lastly, the fifth way you want to use money to level up in life is to buy happiness and motivation. Now, I wanted to end this on a happier note because we need to understand that as human beings, we need to have a little bit of motivation to keep us pushing through the difficult times. And as we all know, life can get pretty difficult sometimes. I know for me, sometimes when the things get difficult, I would like to have something that I'm looking forward to, right? So that thing for me is video games. If you know me, I'm a huge video gaming nerd, and I like to dedicate just, one game a month, a little bit of money in order to buy them. So the thing and trick you want to think about this, however, is you want it to be very sustainable and you want to plan things out, right? You want to make sure that whatever you're using that money to actually get, you are earning that. It's planned, right? So for example, if I meet all my goals, for the last month and all that, the reward that I get is I'm able to then now treat myself to a nice video game. Now, you do want to be careful with this because you don't want to spend too much money on doing so. For example, maybe you're someone who really enjoys, I don't know, eating a nice fancy meal. So maybe a month you get one nice fancy meal that you can actually treat yourself if you're following through with your plan, that you're gonna push through your goals, you're gonna do all these day-to-day stuff. You want to dedicate a little bit of your money to actually buy happiness, because what I realized is that at the end of the day, we're playing this game and we're all trying to level up, all trying to improve, but what really is the point if we're not really enjoying ourselves? Of course, some might argue that you don't really need to spend money in order to enjoy yourself, but that's simply how the world works, right? There are things that if you spend money, you're going to be able to enjoy things a lot better. I do advise that you put aside a little bit of that money, not simply to spend money in a way where you're going to feel good or to impress others, but spend money in a way where you know that whatever that money is being spent for, it's something that you personally want. So I do kind of want to end it a little bit on a happier note, because I know I was just kind of going on and on about how we need to use money in a smart way, but sometimes it's completely fine to use it on yourself and for selfish reasons. So that's about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more, and go ahead and check out this next video here for more content just like this. As always, my name is 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the very next one. Take care. Peace.